broadcast of the Rainbow Push Coalition. We are live here at Dr. King's Workshop, 50th and Drexel. You still have time to get here. Listen, you don't want to miss this broadcast. Don't turn that down. Judge Mathis is in the building, so make some noise. Call somebody, tweet somebody, text somebody, and let them know that the push is on.
Oh, come on, let it ring. Oh, we shall overcome. Somebody say we shall overcome. Believe it now that we shall overcome. Someday, yeah, deep in my, oh, I get rough sometimes, but I still believe that we shall overcome. Someday, one more time, let's put it up. Well, we shall. Somebody sang, we shall. Oh, let it ring, we shall overcome. Someday, deep, deep in my heart, oh, I do believe that we shall overcome.
Turn us up right now on your radio. Turn us up right now on your television. We are live right now all over the world. Listen, call us right now. Reverend Jackson wants to hear from you today. The number's right there, 773-256-2775, 773-256-2775. We are live right now on the Impact Network. We are live on AM 1690 and iHeartRadio, and we are streaming live right now from our website at rainbowpush.org. We are grateful to each and every one of you who faithfully tune in each and every week wherever you are, your homes, your automobiles, your places of business, wherever you're kind enough to tune in. We love you and we thank God for you. We especially want to welcome our international audience, our friends who are watching us literally all over the world today in places like Germany, in Spain, in Pakistan, in France, and Canada. And we want to welcome those of you who are watching us right here in the United States in our satellite cities of New York, Washington, D.C., Detroit, Atlanta, and Silicon Valley. Can we give a big hand to all of our viewers who are watching us and who support us each and every week? Listen, we want to dedicate this broadcast to all of those, our friends all over the world who are experiencing devastation as a result of natural disasters, our friends who are still recovering from Harvey, our friends in the path of Hurricane Irma, our friends in Mexico recovering after the earthquake. We have so much to be mindful of, and of course we know that global warming is real, and we'll hear more about that today and of course tomorrow on the Keep Hope Alive radio show with Reverend Jackson. We're also praying for the families of Brother Simeon Wright, who was the cousin of Emmett Till. And we know what that family means to our movement. It literally spurred the modern day civil rights movement, the murder of Emmett Till. And so we're lifting up the family of Simeon Wright, Emmett Till's cousin, and also our friend and brother Robert Vaughn, who was a national labor leader for many years, who fought in the trenches for many years. He's being funeralized on today, and we already miss him dearly. And of course, our friend and brother, we're still praying for the family of Dick Gregory, who will be funeralized on next week. Listen, September is Voter Rights Month. Voter Rights Month happens this month in September. September 26th, this coming Tuesday, September 26th, is National Voter Registration Day. And of course, Rainbow Push has always been on the front lines of that struggle, protecting the right to vote. And so we have a number of events as we commemorate this special month, celebrating voter rights. Listen, we're going to have a Voter Suppression Commission Twitter town hall this coming Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. So please be mindful of that. And also our Voter Suppression Commission press conference will be this coming Friday, September 15th in D.C., Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club. And as a result of Charlottesville, Reverend Jackson and many other leaders are going to Virginia. There's a major election this fall in Virginia, and we're going to heal and rebuild Virginia by going to a number of different cities throughout the state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, to register new voters. And so that will happen, that bus tour will happen September 18th through the 20th, September 18th through the 20th. So if you're in the DMV area, please be mindful of that, and you'll see more information in the coming days. Listen, we have a special announcement as it relates to our national spokesman, Jonathan Luther Jackson. Listen, one of the major things that I think that distinguishes Rainbow Push from any other civil rights organization is our international work. Our international work, the international work of Reverend Jackson. He is not just a national figure, he is literally an international figure. And from our work in the apartheid movement, ending that movement in South Africa, to Reverend Jackson going to various hostile nations to bring prisoners of war back home, our national spokesman, Jonathan Luther Jackson, and many others of our staff in that same tradition went on a trip to Mauritania this past week. And after gaining the necessary documents to visit that country, they were going there to protest and expose the fact that still in 2017, there are over 156,000 people enslaved today in Mauritania. And Jonathan, our national spokesman, James Gomez, our international director, were going there to report on that, to uncover that fact, but they were denied entry into the country. And so that's why Jonathan is not here with us today. And so our question today is, what is the Mauritanian government trying to hide? What are they trying to hide? But we're not going to settle for that. We're going to fight back in the spirit of Reverend Jackson. We're going to fight back in the spirit of Dr. King. And we're going to not settle until slavery is ended literally all over the world. So give a big hand to Jonathan and that courageous spirit. Let's encourage him as he continues to fight back. And we welcome him back to us next week to give us a full report. Listen, I'm going to bring to you now our National Executive Director of Push Excel. She's no stranger. Give a big welcome to Reverend Jeanette C. Wilson as she comes in her own way.
Good morning, Rainbow Push family. I'm so excited because the chairman of the board, the real chairman of the board of Push for Excellence, is here with us today. He's going to give the keynote address, and you'll hear from Judge Greg Mathis a little later. But today we're excited because we have a group of flaggers who are going to stand and come at this time. These young men and women have decided, Judge Mathis, to take a flagger course. They've watched people holding the flags, waving the flags at construction sites. We never seem to see anybody in Chicago, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, LA that look like us, making $45 an hour. And so as we celebrate these flaggers, these men and women who decided to take time and get trained and get ready, know that we're ready now to shut down construction sites. Either cut us in or we'll cut you out. We're not going to allow these men and women who want to work, who are prepared to work, who are convinced that they are ready and able to work with all of the double-digit unemployment in the black community. We want our jobs. There are three classes of industries that are going to give the most jobs in the country today. Construction trades. And we noticed that while it used to be controlled in large measure by European immigrants, now these trade union halls are becoming empty, and we're going to fill those seats. African Americans and Latinos will be the workforce for America in this decade, in this year and next year. So we're training flaggers, we're training forklift operators, and then we're taking over the hospitality industry again. We're training people to be waiters, waitresses, hostesses, and in the whole hotel restaurant management. If you want a job, you need to call us right now, 773-256-2775. If you want to be in the construction industry, call us. We have more classes coming every Thursday night in Chicago. We're just a pilot. We're going to be moving this around the country, whether it's our satellite city in Detroit, whether it's our satellite city in New York, our satellite city in Atlanta, Georgia, our satellite city in Silicon Valley, our satellite in DC, wherever you are, you want to make sure that you are prepared and ready to work. We thank these flaggers. We thank them. We thank Omar Sharif, our jobs director. We thank Judge Mathis for taking the time to come and celebrate with us our workforce development initiative at Rainbow Push. We're not just training people. You know we're an action group, so we're gonna visit sites. We're meeting with majority contractors, and we're saying to them, when you're working in the cities where we are a large part of the majority, we expect you to allocate certain jobs and contracts for us. When you are in those neighborhoods that are predominantly African American, we don't expect to see people from other suburbs working in our community. Either cut us in or we'll shut you down. We have the power, we have the strength. Nonviolent direct action does work. Nonviolent direct action is where we are again today. We're going to make sure we get our share of flagger jobs. We can wave the flag, we can hold the stop sign, we can make $45 an hour. Thank you so much. And now as the flaggers move off the stage and the judge and Omar Sharif resume their seats, we have one more person. The people with the red hats were the marshals for the flaggers. Everybody else has a white hat. They're kind of leading this graduation ceremony. Next week, you're gonna see the training that we're doing in technology. That's another fast-growing area in this country and in this world. And so we're training people, Judge Mathis, in how to repair computers, how to maintain computers, how to be your help desk operators. We know that training matters, but we also know that access and opportunity matter more. And so Reverend Jackson is traveling around the nation, meeting with these construction companies, meeting with these corporate giant CEOs and presidents, and saying to them, we want to expand the opportunities for all people so that everybody has a livable wage. And we're not gonna watch CEOs earn billions of dollars while we suffer and struggle. Those of you who want to be a part of this movement for economic justice, the fourth phase of the civil rights movement, you need to call us right now, 773-256-2775, 773-256-2775. Don't worry, we're coming to an industry near you. We're gonna be looking at the entertainment industry. We're looking at Hollywood and how many of us are both on the camera, behind the camera, producing, writing the shows, like DuVernay, like Oprah Winfrey. And we are so proud of our chairman, Judge Mathis. We want to expand more opportunities to see more of us on the air, behind the air, making the air, just as we are focused on the construction industry. And so now as we prepare to transition in our program, Judge Mathis is chair of the board of Push for Excellence, the education arm. And we have with us at this time someone that represents the best of Push Excel in terms of our oratory and our ability to communicate. We have a young twin. His brother was here last week, and as brothers go, these twins are very close. They're very similar in their excellent behavior. They're excellent students. Nelson Simmons is in the 5th grade at Southwest Christian School. He's been an orator since he was 4 with Push Excel. Won't you greet warmly Nelson Simmons?
Hello, my name is Nelson Simmons, and today I will be presenting to you an excerpt from Marcus Garvey's Educate Yourself. You must never stop learning. The world's greatest men and women were people who educated themselves outside of the university with all the knowledge that the university gives. You have the opportunity of doing the same thing the university student does: read and study. One must never stop reading. Read history incessantly until you master it. This means your own natural history, the history of the world, social history, and the history of the different sciences, but primarily the history of man. If you do not know what went on before you came here and what is happening at the time you live, but away from you, you will not know the world and will be ignorant of the world and mankind. People judge you by your writing and your speech. If you write badly and incorrectly, they will become prejudiced toward your intelligence. And if you speak badly and incorrectly, those who hear you will become disgusted and will not pay much attention to you, but in their hearts, laugh after you. Never write or speak on a subject you know nothing about, for there was always somebody who knows that particular subject to laugh at you or to ask you embarrassing questions that may make others laugh at you. Never lend anybody the book that you want. You will never get it back. Never admit that Jesus Christ was a white man. Otherwise, he could not be the Son of God and God to redeem all mankind. Jesus Christ had the blood of all races in his veins, and tracing the Jewish race back to Abraham and to Moses, from which Jesus sprang through the line of Jesse. You will find Negro blood everywhere. So, Jesus had much Negro blood in him. Always have a thought. Make it always a beautiful thought. The world is attracted by beauty, either in art or expression. Therefore, try to read, think, and speak beautiful things. And now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you a man who works with Reverend Jackson, a man who supports Reverend Jackson, a man who is an example that God's love can change lives, a man who believes in you, and a man who believes in me. Now presenting the Honorable Judge Greg Mathis.
hand to that great choir. Give a hand to the Push Choir. Let me start out by congratulating our flag wavers. We here at Rainbow Push trained 350 right here in this building, and we're proud to have been a part of that. As well, let me also thank God for Reverend Jackson, and he has us working to both change lives and to administer services that would help our young people with educations. And so, in a real way, we fight, yes, for social service, but just as importantly, we provide and fight for social justice. And I believe those two things go hand in hand. You can't get social service and employment if you don't fight for justice. Fight for social service, but fight just as much for justice. I'd also, in Reverend Jackson's absence, thank God for him. You know, when I met him, he's probably the biggest inspiration in my life. When I met him, I was a troubled youth, and he inspired me to overcome my obstacles, go to college, and come back and fight here at Rainbow Push for social justice. And for the last 30 years, I've done just that to show my appreciation and to provide the same type of inspiration and the type of fight in the spirit of our young people and adults so that we can make a difference. So I thank God for him. You know, I had a young lady here approach me on stage. She said, well, are you going to be funny? Are you going to be funny today? Well, you know, there's a time and place for that. And I do thank you all for watching my show. We're in our 19th year, thank God. And so the show allows me the platform, however, to try and influence the minds and hearts of millions of people who watch. And I don't take that platform for granted. I work to make sure that I am changing lives, inspiring young people to go to school, training programs, helping to rehabilitate those who've fallen victim to drugs and alcoholism, as well as those who are involved in violence and need anger management of some sort. And so those are the things I value most on that show. So although I have a little fun up there, because these are all small claims, and so nobody's losing their homes, nobody's going to jail, it's not a big deal, and I laugh and have fun because it's a little entertainment involved. You're going to turn that channel if we're not having a little fun with it. And on the other side, when I leave that courtroom, I take that robe off and become a strong and spirited fighter for equality for all of our people. Because there's really nothing funny about what we see both in the inner cities of America and in the outskirts of America where people are suffering with poverty and drug abuse. But with inner city America, where we historically have focused our attention, we're seeing the deaths by police officers killing unarmed people. We're seeing our community and our young people being attacked for standing up for themselves. We're seeing racial violence by those whom have for centuries continued to try and terrorize our community and terrorize our people. But we thank God for Black Lives Matter and for a lot of the other young people who are fighting back and who are not scared. We want to make sure we fight with our Latino brothers and sisters. You know, in many ways, society and the leaders of society and those who have an interest in keeping us divided, they try and somehow make it seem as if one group of people are lifted up, then the others are put down. They tried that with the Equal Rights Amendment for women. They said, well, if we help women, we're not going to excel African Americans as much. Now, many have said in the past that we as a people will lose to the extent that the Latino community wins. And that's a flat out lie. That only happens is the time that happens is when we don't fight with each other, when we don't fight for each other, when we don't get out and protest with the Latino community who are under attack. Because believe me, if they're coming for them, we're next in line. And there are more Latinos in America than there are African Americans. So just imagine, Latino community, I think is nearly 40 million. African Americans is about 35 million. Just imagine 70 million people. And those of good hearts and women who are also suffering from discrimination and wage differences. Just think if we all came together, we'd have over 150 million people aligned together to change the laws and the policies of this country that will help us. The Reconstructive Act, which will help us get jobs, which will help us feed our families and come out of poverty. If we all come together and pressure our elected officials, we'll get that legislation passed. And now we see our Latino brothers fighting for what is referred to the policy of DACA. So what is DACA? Well, DACA is a deferred action. I'll tell you what it stands for, DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrived Undocumented Immigrants who were children when they were brought here to America. Innocent children, really had no understanding of what they were encountering in life, and then later experienced much of the discrimination that women and African Americans continue to experience. Our allies, treated in many ways the same. And that legislation or executive order was passed by President Obama in 2012 to allow children of undocumented immigrants to avoid deportation and to allow them work permits and an opportunity to go to college so that they are not deported back to Mexico. And so it is that what is referred to as the dreamers, those young people continue to dream, to come to stay in America, and to help uplift. And we ask that we'll fight with you, but we're gonna need you to fight with us when it's time to uplift our community, which is always the case, quite frankly. Another question is what's going to happen to these some 800,000 dreamers who have benefited from the DACA Act passed by President Obama in 2012. Will they be exported immediately later? Will they get the 2-year work permits that has been discussed, continue it for 6 months, or what will happen? We can't really tell because we got a White House that flip-flops on everything that it does. So we really don't know. What we do know is at some point, the White House occupant told David Muir in an interview that the dreamers shouldn't be worried. They are here illegally, but they shouldn't be very worried. I have a big heart. We're going to take care of everybody. And then within a month, ordered the DACA policy executive order be rescinded. Then Few days later, says, we're going to look at it and hopefully we can rescind that order if Congress brings legislation. Now throwing it in Congress' lap. And thank God you have a U.S. Senator here who is leading the way in the U.S. Senate to pass legislation that will address this issue and bring fairness. Senator Dick Durbin has proposed that we eliminate DACA and create a path to citizenship for many of those who are being ordered to leave and who are being denied that which our president thought would be necessary. Our president meaning President Obama. So that's what we have coming up, legislation. It's going to be a fight, but you all need to call your Congress folks. You need to call your other U.S. Senator and make sure that they're on board with a policy and some congressional action that will allow for a road to citizenship for these young people who can really, in many ways, contribute to our country and lift all of us up. And it's going to be a challenge, but we have to keep our faith. We have to keep our faith because we have the same challenges in many ways as we have had in decades past. You know, we have, it's called the Dreamers, young people. You know, we had a dreamer as well. Dr. King was a dreamer. He had a dream. But he had more than just a dream. He didn't just dream about it and go back to sleep. He took his dream to the streets. He organized hundreds of thousands of people throughout our country to fight back against the unjust laws that discriminated and oppressed our community. That's a real dreamer. You wake up and you fight. And so it is, these dreamers are doing the same. You've seen hundreds of thousands on the streets of America all throughout the country, in every major city where Latinos abide, and in cities where they don't, but we share that passion for justice. And so, them being dreamers really is taking a page from the dreams and the action that followed from Dr. King. And so once again, we are united in our approach. So if we are united in our approach, we hope to get legislation that will address the results that our White House is seeking and rescind that policy of trying to fight and eliminate our president's executive order. Because the same ones that are opposing DACA are the same ones that opposed affirmative action. They oppose our progress. The same ones that oppose DACA are the same ones that are now all throughout the country creating barriers to us voting in majority African American districts. The same ones that oppose DACA support the racial attacks which are occurring throughout our country as a result of an environment set from the top to engage in division among races and among people throughout our country in general. It's the same folks that support and defend the police killings of unarmed people throughout our country. It's the same folks. It's the same folks who are standing in the way of health care, a $15 minimum wage, and infrastructure. But you know, we can fight back and we can win, but only if we keep our faith. And our message today to the dreamers is to keep your faith. That's how we achieved our success. We kept our faith. Dr. King and the others led with moral authority because they kept their faith. And perhaps if we look back, you know, I'm about to do a little preaching here. This is a church, so I got to throw the Lord in here. And as much as God has done for me, I always have to honor him. Because keeping your faith is what I did and many of you have done, particularly our graduates. You kept your faith. Many of you are employed now, and when the infrastructure bill comes, we're going to have all of you out there employed if you keep your faith. And perhaps the biggest act of faith recorded in history was biblical. You know, Acts 27 tells us that centuries ago, if not tens of thousands of years ago, certainly at least 10, depending on your belief, whether creation was alone, whether God pushed it, or whether the spirit that we are taught empowered us with the spirit of faith. And so, the greatest act of faith, I would claim, would be Paul and the centurions caught in a storm in order to stay on that ship by God. Ship is sinking. They want to get off. But God said, no, you stay on that ship. And then Paul, I can hear him now. Lord, what are we going to do? And the centurion scratching their head, yeah, Paul, you got to tell us something. This thing is shipping. You're talking about stay on this boat and keeping your faith. This is what we're going to do. And I can hear Paul saying, well, if you can tread water, tread water. If you can swim, swim. If you can't do either of those, that means God wants you to stay on this sinking ship. And if you stay on this sinking ship, unfortunately, this boat is going to break apart. Well, Paul, what happens then? Well, you have to grab a broken piece of that boat and try and hang on the best you can. Just stay on that boat. Stay in America. Don't you let them throw you out of America as the centurions were trying to leave that boat by losing their faith. Don't you lose your faith. Stay on that boat. Your home is this home. And so the Bible tells us that they were all saved because none lost their faith. So I say to our Latino brothers as I close, when the storm comes and the ship is about to sink and the wave of public opinion is trying to throw you off that boat, throw you out of this country, you just grab a broken part, hang on, use what you got, and keep your faith. When they try and deny you a path to citizenship, don't you give up. You keep your faith. Grab a broken part. Grab a protest sign. Take that protest sign and fight back. When they try to deny you and our people equal access and equal opportunity, don't you give up. Grab a broken part. Put it together. Hang on. Use what you got. Go by push and get trained to be a flag waver. Come here and keep your faith. Because if you keep your faith, we will all be saved. Just as Paul and the centurions kept their faith and they were all saved. Thank you and God bless you.
Oh, some say I'm preaching not that right. Oh, some say I'm useless, I'm holy, and I'm not living right. But at the beginning of the day, I look in the mirror and say, I am somebody. Oh, now I believe the future's in my hand. I tell every girl, boy, woman, or man, if I could think it, I can't believe it. Create it and achieve it, so I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Oh, I may be down and pushed away, but at the end of the day, I am somebody. Oh, oh, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Maybe down but not destroyed, empty but not void. I am somebody. Song say this. Oh, so take away the hate and show me love. Somebody. Take away the hate and give me love. Give me peace instead of pain, joy inside this rain, and I shall remain somebody. Oh, yeah. Take away the hate and give me love. Somebody. Take away the hate and show me love. Give me peace instead of pain, joy inside this rain, and I shall remain somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Maybe down but not destroyed, empty but not void, 'cause I am somebody. So believe it that I am. Hey, maybe down but not destroyed, empty but not void, 'cause I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Look at somebody and say I am somebody. Yeah, maybe down but not destroyed, empty but I'm not void, 'cause I am. Oh, I am. Yeah, you can turn and walk away, but at the end of the day, I am somebody. Oh, so just pray for me. Oh, just pray for me. Oh, pray. Pray for me. Pray with me. Oh, just pray with me for the land. Pray, every girl, boy, woman, and man. Oh, pray, pray with me. Pray with me. Bless you.
Every flagger say, I am somebody. I may be unemployed, but I am somebody. Pray for me. Work with me. Fight with me. I am somebody. We thank Judge Mathis for those inspiring remarks. Even as we are here today, Reverend Jackson is fighting now that he can open up more opportunities for each of us. And even as we pray for those victims of hurricanes, Irma, Harvey, and Jose, and the earthquake in Mexico, we know that our God is able. And as Judge Mathis says, if we have the faith, our God has the power. And so we stand here. We thank the Rush University Medical Center students who are here to volunteer to pack and load our relief effort, materials and supplies. Those of you who want to give, don't clean your closet. Leave whatever you got at home and go to the store. Do not bring clothes. We know you want to clean your closet. Don't do that for hurricane relief. Go and buy supplies. Go and buy toiletry items. Go and buy gift cards. Go and buy cleaning supplies. Go and buy boots. Go and buy gloves. Go and buy what they can use. Don't give them what you don't want anymore. We thank all of you who have given of your time, your talent, and your treasury. What we do for them, as Judge said, they are impacted now. Winter is coming here and in the Northeast. And so all of us suffer different kinds of storms. Whatever storm you're in, remember God is in the storm with you, and you want to make sure that if you're not in a storm, you're helping someone else come out of the storm. As Judge talked about what DACA means, I was so glad we had a lawyer to explain to us what we don't know about DACA. We've been just making up stuff. Whatever we don't know, we can add to it. And so one of our supporters who's been with this organization since the beginning, Reverend Slim Coleman, wants to come and share with us. As Judge said, it's not just about Latinos. When we talk about the deportations and the removal of refugees and immigrants who come to America for a better life, it's more of us than we know. And so I want Reverend Coleman to come and give us some updated information on who else is scheduled to be deported. And I don't want you to think past the Caribbean. And don't forget about Haiti. So next week, we're going to hear from our Haitian brothers and sisters who are struggling with yet another hurricane, and they have not yet recovered from the earthquake. And you'll hear more about that. Janine Ramon is organizing Haitians. The Haitian representatives from Haiti will be here next Saturday to bring you an update, as will our national spokesperson will be back to give us an update on Mauritania. So you're going to have a very international broadcast next week. Reverend Coleman, won't you come this way? Give him a hand as he comes.
I want to thank the judge for his explanation in terms of DACA. The fight for those 800,000 young people is going on every day. We're fighting in the courts, we're fighting in the streets, and we're fighting in the Congress. And we think that we'll win that fight. When it was announced by Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions that these 800,000 people would be made outlaws overnight, it hit us in a strange way. When they captured the White House and the Senate and the House, when an evil and wicked spirit captured the center of the government, it gave them the potential to move in so many ways at so many times that it made it very difficult for us to learn how to focus. At the same time that the focus is now on the 800,000, and they're very close to us. In my church, we've we have 3,000 people that we've brought through that process who now can work and so forth. So they're part of our community, and they're very important to us. At the same time, they were intensifying the deportation against their parents. You're not going to separate me from my family or